Hey guys, Jermaine Morgan here. You're watching Grooves and Motivation Live. Today we're going to talk about something. I'm not that interested. I'm not that, or is it that you're not that interested? Let's dig into it. Let's talk about it. Stay tuned. All right, so let's jump right into this groove this morning. I got something that my old heads are gonna like, or my older heads, my soulful heads. We'll say it that way. I got a little track I think y'all gonna like the sound of this morning. And when I say old heads, that's a term of endearment. Just joining, you know what to do. Let me know where you're watching from, who's watching. What's up, Leroy? Saying what it sounded like this morning. There's like 1,000 songs you can insert over this feel that feels very familiar. What's up, Ronald? Michael, what's up, man? describe what you're feeling, that place. I don't know, man. It's Leroy, I think it's probably first and foremost nostalgic. Like, it reminds me of stuff that I heard growing up. Like, and so when you're playing, let me turn this down a bit. I don't want to turn it off because I know y'all liking the groove. So I think, what's up, Sean? I see you, man. I think when it's something that feels at home for you, you're not in such a rush. And that's why I think, and this is not even on my topic this morning, but I think why it's so important to identify the type of music that you want to play and go after that even when you're learning. I mean, stretch out, learn other styles, but when it comes to improvisation and that kind of thing, when you want to stretch out and have ideas, I think it's important to like get in touch with the roots of stuff that speaks to you. Like, this music ain't for everybody. It don't necessarily resonate with everybody, and I get that. But for where I'm from, like, this is at home for me. Like, this, you can hear this in church. You can hear the old quartet singing. Like, even on the soul circuit, you can hear a groove like this in blues and soul. Like, for me, I grew up hearing this kind of music almost everywhere. So there's not a lot of thought that goes into it when I'm playing. It's more so feel. Everything is kind of feel oriented. You know, whatever I'm feeling in that moment. I ain't thinking about, okay, I can play minor pentatonic. I can do, I ain't thinking none of that stuff when I'm playing. So yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a freedom, Leroy. There's definitely a freedom with it because, like I said, you're at home. And anytime you associate anything with being at home, there's a freedom at your home. Whatever that home space is for you, there's a freedom. Not to say other things that I play don't equally have a level of freedom to it, but I'm only going to feel at home with things I have spent time with or things that I've gotten pretty, comfortable under my hands. But if it's something like I'm not used to playing, then it's going to be hard for me to just feel at home. I can play it, but it's like going to somebody's house. You don't necessarily feel at home even though you're sitting on the couch. You might even have your shoes off, but you don't necessarily feel at home if you haven't been there a lot. You know what I'm saying? So the more you spend time there with a certain thing, is like the less thought that has to go into it, and it's more so of a feeling. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah. So Michael says this is exactly the style I am chasing, man. This is a combination of several styles, Michael. You got, and you probably already know this, but you have, like, I call it soulful. Some people only think it's soulful, like in terms of old school soul, but it's not only soulful. You have like the guitar element. If I mute the guitars, that's quartet. That's gospel quartet guitars. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's really all that is. And you got the drum beat that makes it a little bit more, all that stuff that I'm doing in the drum beat, it makes it more like neo soul. But literally all neo soul is gospel quartet or gospel with a different swing up under the bottom of it. Like, in church, you wouldn't be swinging that hard, you know what I'm saying? But that's all it is gospel with a different swing under the bottom of it. And so with those guitar elements there, it just adds that more soulful, what people kind of refer to as soul. It adds that element to it. So pull all of that apart. That's basically what it is. So yeah. So hopefully that kind of clears your question up there, Leroy. I'll play a little bit more, and we'll jump into this little talk. Obviously, me playing solos over it takes it away from quartet in a sense, because you ain't gonna hear no solos in gospel quartet. So that's the other thing I love about when you mentioned freedom, Leroy. You said, is there freedom there? Absolutely. Because if I were playing this on a gospel quartet gig, nah, doc, that's all we need. don't need you to move from there. Right? But because I'm not on the quartet gig, yeah, there's a freedom because I do hear stuff from a composition standpoint that I would play or other things that I would add, like when it comes to me expressing my opinion. I think that's the thing about composing your own music. You get to have an opinion about the music that you're composing. You might not be able to do that on somebody else's song, but on your own music, you can have your opinion of what you think would sound good over this song. Or some people do it, when they're playing for groups, when they're playing for churches, choirs, gigs, whatever. They get called on for a solo. They might call on a guitar player to take a solo in a quartet setting for a song like this. And maybe nowadays, because it's more modern, bass players might be getting solos in quartet. Now I don't know. I don't be out there on the quartet scene no more. But somebody let me know. The bass players be getting solos in quartet now. I know we're modern and everything, but if we did, I would definitely take a solo on this song here because it just feels right. I wouldn't do too much, but I would say something. So because after a while you're gonna want that bass back in there. Almost like if you did take a solo on that, you'd have to keep working the bass line in with the solo to make sure it don't lose the meat under the bottom, because you want to feel that low end on this song. Tell you what it really make me want to do is sing. And I said sing, not sing. I'm an old quartet head. Yep. So anyway, guys, that's a fun tune. Mark B, what's up, man? Mark, I've been seeing you a lot lately, man. Thank you for chiming in and commenting on this stuff. And just FYI, if you guys have been under a rock, I recently, and you hadn't seen this, I recently released something called little commercial break called Hymns and Spiritual Songs. So I am teaching this stuff. If you haven't seen it, I just wanted to make mention of it, lest I forget. But I am teaching this stuff, and there are jam packs that you can jam out to play this stuff. There's volume 1 that's out, and volume 2 and so on are coming. So absolutely do go to JermaineMorgan.net and check that out. Matter of fact, let me do this while I'm talking about that really, really quick. Let me go ahead and give you guys the link to this, just in case some of you guys wanted to check that out. Yeah, today's live is being brought to you by Hymns and Spiritual Songs. What's up, Marcus? You good, man? Is that you on the guitars as well? Absolutely, Michael. That's me playing a little guitar stuff over there. Yeah, you got the track started back up now. I think he did that on purpose. Yeah, Mike, that's me playing the guitars. That thing, it feel right. I gotta leave it alone. All right, so jumping into today's talk, not really that interested. Not really that interested. And I know some people might be like, "What you mean by that, Doc?" It could mean a lot of things, but in the context of what I'm talking about it today, not really that interested. Um, I think this applies to a lot of people, both on a positive and negative side. Andre says, "I got the Neo Soul collection. Love all the bass tracks." Absolutely, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, you said you got the Neo Soul. I'm guessing you talking about the packs, like the samples. Is that what you're talking about? The soul samples? I guess you're talking about the soul samples where I'm playing like the guitars and the bass stuff. But yes, well, I almost lost my train of thought there. So not really that interested. And then I got "Don't Blame Me." So again, a lot of us. I started off. You know, I like to start off with a story. Oftentimes, I would get these little sideway jokes from people coming up and throughout my career and that kind of thing. Like when people find out that I play multiple instruments, and it's always funny. Sometimes I get it from people that I know. Sometimes I get it from people that I don't know, and it's difficult at times to kind of really fill out if people are being serious or they being facetious. You don't know, and but a lot of times folks say things that people say as a joke. Oftentimes they're being serious. At the end of the day, it got nothing to do with me, so I don't spend too much time trying to figure out whether they're serious or whether they're just joking. It really don't matter at the end of the day. But the point I'm making with that is I'll get stuff like, "Man, if I had your talent, if I had this, if I had that, or you make me sick, or people like you make me sick because you can play more than one instrument." And that's where the "don't blame me" come from. That's where that comes from. For me, as far as I'm concerned, don't blame me. Because I could play more than one instrument. And now this whole thing ain't about me today in terms of, ooh, you can play more than one instrument. Like nowadays, a lot of people do that. So it's not that big of a deal for me personally. I get it. A lot of people want to be able to do this. But here's the thing, man. Like, and the reason why I say it's not that big a deal, in my family, it's normal, to be honest. Like, my mom she plays more than one instrument. My brother, he plays more than one instrument. And it's like, so in my family, it wasn't I'm going to try to play this and then I'm going to try to play that and then I'm going to try to pick this. It's like, it was normal for people to jump around. Even if you weren't that good on the instrument, just to jump around and try it. Just try something out. See what you could do on the instrument. And, so it was like part of the culture growing up in my house. Now, granted, my mom, didn't consider herself like a professional musician in terms of like, this is all she do. Neither did my brother. Both of them could play, but they didn't necessarily. So I'm saying I wasn't growing up in an environment where I'm being taught music theory and all these different things. It wasn't that deep. It was just, we can play. We enjoy music. We play for the church. We do this, we do that. And that's pretty much what it was for us. So in terms of me becoming a multi-instrumentalist, what's up, MJ? In terms of me becoming a multi-instrumentalist, it wasn't something that I went after, like, I got to learn how to play this. And I didn't go after it like that. It was a natural progression because the instruments were around. I put time in and I started figuring them out. Now, I didn't just sit down on piano and I could just play. I figured some stuff out like anybody else who would dabble on a piano or a keyboard or whatever. I was figuring stuff out. I remember, I know I couldn't play when I first started because I remember my grandma, me and my brother, when we were really young, she had an upright piano in her house, like in the kitchen, like in that area there, in the dining room. And my brother and I would just get on the piano, and we would just play around on it. She'd, noise. She would never let us play that piano. So we didn't learn at my grandma's house because she wouldn't let us play that piano. But later on, obviously we had an interest in music they just didn't know it right away. Like my brother and I could have probably been playing way younger if somebody had noticed that we were really, really interested in music. So anyway, long story, neither here nor there. But the point is, over time, as I played these instruments, I began to take the music seriously. Like the first instrument I was really playing was probably the drums. I was playing the drums, and I think I jumped on drums because my uncle was playing guitar, my brother was playing bass. He was jumping back and forth from bass to piano, and I got to play something. So I think I just naturally gravitated towards drums because I could keep a beat. I could play a beat, and we were playing for my home church at that time, where my uncle was, and I just started playing drums, and later I got interested in guitar. Like within like a few months later, I got interested in guitar, and I started picking around and playing guitar, and I took it seriously. I took guitar very, very seriously, and like when I say serious, I was eat, sleeping, breathing guitar. I woke up, I played the guitar, I went to sleep playing the guitar. It was very serious for me. Now, in the progression, I'm not gonna go through my whole history for you guys who've been around for a while, but the progression of me, like the bass was the last instrument that I really took serious. I played it, but I never really took it serious. Like, so that was the last thing that I took serious. So next in line for from the guitar was the keys, the piano or whatever. And I was playing that for my home church. So I would play a lot, of keys for my church. Reason being, my mom, she was over the choirs in the music department, the little music department that we had. And so I obviously being a multi-instrumentalist or a up and coming multi-instrumentalist, I was jumping around. When my mom was playing keys, I would jump on drums. I was playing the drums. Later, we had a drummer come up at my church who started learning. So that kind of freed me up to play a little bit more keys and jump on the bass or whatever else that was open. So naturally, I was just moving around. And once my mom just kind of went to full-time just directing the choir and focusing on that, I went to full-time keys. I was like the main guy playing the keys all the time. So I took that serious. Probably not as serious as some people who, like, I don't claim keys as a professional. Like, I can get you through a good old Baptist service. I can do more than that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't claim myself to be a professional. I know my lane. I can play keys as a producer, but I claim bass and guitar professionally because I know I know where I spent the most time, right? So, like I said, that time was spent heavily on these instruments, learning each different instrument. So coming back to the point, so when I hear somebody say, man, you make me sick, or people like you make me sick that can play all these different instruments, I say, don't blame me. You're not really that interested. So that's what I really say to you. Like, not as an insult, but we're just calling a spade a spade. And I know, and hear what I say before y'all tap out on me when I say you're not that interested. Hear what I say. So many of you, I shared this before. I had a lawnmower accident when I was 6 years old. And that completely changed my life in many ways. Back then, I would have said it was negative. But now, in hindsight, I'm able to say it was good for me that I was afflicted, right? But I know those set of circumstances that happened to me changed my interest because I couldn't do what all the other kids could do. I was in and out of the hospital all the time, so I could do sports. So naturally, I didn't have an interest for sports. So the only thing that I could do, probably by the time I was 12, I completely buried myself in music. It started with the guitar. Then I joined the band. I think I was 12. So I joined the band, and I was in the band from then on out, all through college and everything else. And I completely buried myself in music. Music was everything. That's all I did. If I wasn't playing the tuba, I played the tuba, by the way. I ain't played it in 20 years. But if I wasn't playing the tuba, I was playing the guitar. I was trying to play the keys or trying to play something, the drums. And so that's like, I didn't know at the time, like, that's all I was doing, but that was my recreation. That's like my downtime was music because that was my interest. So because that was my interest and I was really interested in it, I put a lot of time in this thing. Now, I teach different people. Some of you guys on here might be some of my students, but I teach different people. And I have a good bit of students. And what I noticed, Sometimes I'll go in and look at the website and look at who's done what, not just spying on people, but sometimes I have to check things that's going on in people's accounts, or we'll go in there and look and make sure everything is cool. And sometimes I'll see where people have purchased courses and those types of things, and they never even open them. That lets me know that you're kind of interested. You are interested enough to make the purchase, but you ain't interested enough to do the work and take it serious. Now, we're talking courses and bass playing here, but how many other areas of life have you said, oh man, I want to do that? Like, I really, man, I'm really passionate about XYZ. That sounds good, and it'll write real good on paper. It'll be a good post on Instagram or Facebook, but what kind of work are you putting in this thing? Because how interested you are is going to show up in the work and the effort that you put out with the thing that you said you really wanted to do, that you were really interested in. I could tell you guys that I'm really interested in playing the bass or the guitar. But if you hear me in 2000 and then you hear me in 2010, and I'm still playing Mary Had a Little Lamb and I'm struggling with that, that lets you know I was kind of interested. Not that I didn't have the ability, not that I didn't have the talent. One thing I've seen is that people who are determined to learn will learn. People who are determined to find excuses will always find them. And they'll make excuses for other people to validate the reason why they ain't doing X, Y, and Z. I've seen people who, in my opinion, had no musical talent learn something and be able to play something and keep up. Like, it's a guy that I know, I won't mention names, but it's a guy that I know from back home. He started playing guitar at like way late in the game, in my opinion. But he picked it up because he always admired guitar players. He looked up to people around the community or whatever. And he always admired guitar players. And he always wanted to play guitar. And then one day he just finally decided to buy him one. Now, he learned a few chords. And he got to the point where he could kind of keep up a little bit with what's going on. And he could play a little bit. But what he started doing, he started getting in an environment with people who were playing. He would pick up the guitar with the little bit he knowed. He would try to play that stuff around the environment of people who were doing it, or because at that time there was no YouTube or any of those things, but he did put himself in the environment, whether he had to create it himself. He put himself in the environment and he started trying to do it. Now, here's the kicker with him. He didn't have, in my opinion, no musical talent before he started. But the more he worked on it, like, okay, he's making out chords. That makes sense. He's playing the chords in timing. That makes sense. Okay, he's adding these chords. He ain't playing everything perfect, but you can tell he's getting it. Like, he's figuring it out. Now, the thing that stopped him is he got stuck. Once he learned those few chords, he was satisfied. Now, did he maximize his potential as a guitar player? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Absolutely not, because the fact that you were able to, at a like late in the game, to learn that much, you know, the fact that you were late in the game and you learned that much on your own or with the help of whoever shows me that you could have took it further. But you were just interested in knowing how to play. And once you reach that goal of learning how to play, like, I can play, meaning I can get up, I can play a few chords. And for him, that was his ambition. He wasn't trying to be a virtuoso on guitar. He wasn't trying to record no records. He just wanted to be able to play, to be able to say he could play. And he reached the goal that he was after, because I want to be able to do this. And that's what he done. So in my opinion, did he maximize his potential? No, absolutely not. But was he successful in the goal that he was going after? Yeah. I heard what's my guy Earl Nightingale says, success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. I mean, anything you set out to do, just say, I'm gonna leave here, leave out of this studio and walk over to my house. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put this bass down, I'm gonna get up out of this chair, I'm gonna go over to the house. What I do in the house ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But the fact that I said my goal was to get up, put the bass down, and walk into my house. Well, once I make it into the house, I'm successful. Anybody's opinion of how long it took me to get in the house is irrelevant. Anybody's opinion of what I do when I get in the house is irrelevant in terms of my goal, whatever that goal was for me. But it all comes down to what your interest level is. When I was in high school, I went out for football, and this is, I want to say this is my sophomore year in high school. Yeah, so this is typical teenager. I'm looking at my peers, all the cats around me. I'm looking at them at the pet rallies and all that kind of stuff. And look, I'm probably more blown away at what they're doing on the field because I'm in the band, so I'm watching from the stadium, and man, that's so cool. That would be dope to do that. And like I said to myself, I was going to try out for football. Given my issue, my condition with my leg, we weren't sure I could play. I told my parents I wanted to play, and they was like, "Well, we got to see if it's okay." So that we went to the doctor, and he was like, "Well, you're fine as long as you protect yourself and nobody lands on you the wrong way. I mean, you're just as capable of as anybody else to go out and play." So once I got that green light, I started working. I started working really hard. I started running every day. Started going to the track at the school. I think during spring break, I went to the track almost every day and just ran and worked on my speed, running up and down the street at my house, going to the gym, working out, all this kind of stuff, doing my push-ups. I was on it. So I was training strong. I did one game, and that was like a spring, what is it? I can't think, it's like a jamboree or something like that. But anyway, I played one game. I sucked, but I played. And I proved to myself I could do it. And as far as I was concerned, that was the point for me. It wasn't about trying to be the greatest football players. I wasn't trying to be the next Deion Sanders. I had no ambition to go no further than that. I was just interested in proving to myself that I could play football. And that's what I did. I just did enough to say that I played football and to prove to myself that I can play football. But had I been more interested, could I have went further? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I can't blame other people who graduated with me, who did more with football, who had a greater career. I can't get mad at them because I was only interested to this level. So based on your level of interest, that's the amount of energy you're going to put out. That's the goal you're going to set. The level of your interest. The level of your interest. And so if you're not further along, I would dare to tell you, you're probably not that interested in it. In your playing, in whatever it is you're trying to do. Now, I'm not saying that the work is not hard. Don't hear what I ain't saying. I'm not saying that the work won't be hard. But if you're interested, if you're really, really interested, you're going to put in the work. Even when you get discouraged, if you're really, really interested. I'm really, really interested in my business succeeding. So I keep doing it. Like JermaineMorgan.net. When I say my business, that's my whole business, JermaineMorgan.net. Everything I do on that site, including music consultation, including producing, including bass lessons and all these different things, bass coaching and one-on-one coaching with individuals. All these things that I do, I want that to be a success. That's why I've been working on it. I'd be honest with y'all. I done quit that business in my head like at least 100 times. I done quit. I know if I bring my wife in here for a witness, she'll tell you, yeah, he done said I'm done like at least 10 times. He done said that, I'm done. That's it. I ain't doing no more. So I done quit this YouTube channel at least 10 times. I done took breaks and sabbaticals and all that kind of stuff because in my head, I'm like, I'm done. I ain't doing it no more. But because I'm more interested in succeeding than I am giving up, I keep going. And that's what it comes down to. I see players and stuff like that are, or people who, might look at other players and they want to be at a certain level. And it's like, what's the saying? We say it wrong, but the race is not given to the swift nor the battle to the strong, but to the one that can endure to the end. And then it's just time and chance happen to us all. But that first part that we like to highlight, no, the race ain't given to the swift nor the battle to the strong. It's like, it don't matter. Like, how can you, in the context, I'm going to use it because I don't want to take it out of context of that scripture. But in the context that I'm using it, it's like, nah, you got to put the work in. Somebody might be faster than you. They might be smarter than you. They might be more talented than you. They might have more natural ability than you do. And let me debunk this myth. I had to debunk this with somebody else the other day on my one of my videos when I asked can feel be learned? And somebody like, absolutely not. And if you're watching, I probably talked about this already. But yeah, it can be learned. Now, is it going to match up to somebody else who just naturally has it and who just been eating, sleeping, living, breathing this stuff? It might not be like theirs, but it can be learned. You can have a better feel than what you have. All these things, like your timing can be better than what it is. Anything can be learned. And that's the myth we like to, like, especially when it comes to music, we like to sell ourselves on these things and give ourselves scapegoats because, well, I ain't that good. Like a person at golf. You're not naturally good at golf. I don't play golf, by the way, so I ain't gonna talk too long on this subject. But a person that wants to get good at golf is something you don't naturally do. You don't naturally do it. Sports, any sports, you don't naturally do it. You don't naturally come out the womb knowing how to ride a bike. You don't naturally know how to tie your shoe. You don't naturally know how to cook. We can keep going down the list of things, but for some reason, people got this idea when it comes to music, either you have it or you don't. Now, I will agree because I produce and I've worked with some interesting stuff as a producer. I will say some people naturally have it. No arguing that. But like many of you guys have heard me say this before, seeing my daughter, who is naturally gifted, like she naturally has perfect pitch. She naturally has what's the thing? Synesthesia, like Bubby Lewis. She has that. But I'm watching her though. And I think God's funny, man. He didn't give me perfect pitch, but he lets me watch my daughter grow up with it so I can see the contrast, because in my mind early on, before I had a daughter, I would think that people who had perfect pitch had it so much easier. Like I got my pitch is not perfect, but it's pretty close. But people who have perfect pitch, I thought like they just had, man, if I had perfect pitch, it'd be so easier. And it's like, it's not. Just watching my daughter is like, even with perfect pitch, she had to learn what the notes are. She didn't just naturally come out the womb. All right, that's a B, and that's an F, and that's an E, and that's a E flat, and that's an F sharp. And she didn't naturally do it. I still had to help her learn her notes. Now, once she learned what the notes were and what they were called, yeah, she got them. But there were still struggles, and her ear is off the chain at 11 years old. But there are still struggles that she has, and I'm in a sense having to coach her through it. Now, the one thing I noticed in terms of advantage-wise that she has over me, when she plays, like her instrument is piano, she's sitting down and she's advancing leaps and bounds way faster than I was. But she works very hard. Now, I can't keep racing past that point, because like when I said she advancing leaps and bounds over me, like, see there, I told you. No, she practices all the time. She practices a lot. When she hears something, she goes up there and she tries to play it. And I try to encourage her, hey, make sure you're listening to this stuff. Make sure you're playing the chords. Like I do coach her every now and again to try to make sure she's hearing what she thinks she's hearing. Make sure you're hearing that correctly. Make sure you're doing what the band is doing. Listen to that chord again. Is that the note that they're playing in that chord? Like I'll do stuff like that every now and again. But most of the time, she's figuring stuff out on her own. And she's going in there and she's putting in the time. She's practicing. She's getting frustrated. She's beating on the board sometimes, like, hey, don't do that. I'm having to tell her, because my point I'm making, I'm not trying to blast her out, but the point I'm making here, she's having to work just as hard as I did. There isn't any less work that she's having to put in that I didn't have to put in. The thing is, she's really, really interested in learning how to play, learning music. She's practicing them. She walks around the house singing all the time, singing runs and stuff like that. She listens to stuff that people sing when we have the TV on and, we're playing music in the house, and she hear runs and stuff that people will do. She listens intently a lot first. I noticed with her, like when a song first comes out, she'll listen. Like she has, her grandma got her this like media player. So I put all of my music on the player, and she just listens to it over and over. I ain't never got tired of people listening to my music. like Yana, ain't you tired of hearing that? Like, you've been playing this stuff over and over. Like, hands down, my daughter is my biggest fan. So I'm grateful. But she plays it all the time. But what I noticed, mostly all of the solos on all the songs, she can sing them verbatim. Because she ain't kind of interested in learning music. She's very interested. She's very interested in being very good at music. And when you're very interested, you put in the work. It's that simple. When you are very interested, you put in the work. All right, so let me go through a few of these comments so I don't be on here till 3 o'clock trying to read through comments. Let's go back. George, if I didn't speak to you already, good morning to you. Emmy, if I'm saying that correctly, good morning to you. So MJ says, yeah, that about to get that hymns next. Cool, good deal. It's my job. Have to travel and work 10 hours. Wow. Okay. Prince Dimitri says, thanks for the 40% off code the other day, Jermaine. Finally copped the shout course and only taking a break from the first scene to watch the podcast. Man, thank you, Prince Dimitri. I appreciate it. I'm saying that wrong. Dimitri. I hope I'm saying it right. I'm saying Dimitri. I know we pronounce stuff differently. Okay. But thank you. Yeah, that code is on my site. If some of you guys are interested in that, just email me to know more. All right. But anyway, so MJ says, yeah, I will get that. Thanks. I will set a goal. Trying to read through all of these. Bro, this is out of this world. You are awesomely awesome. That's a lot of awesome. To God be the glory, man. All I can say, Emmy. Great motivation video. Jonah, appreciate that, man. What one can do and another man can do. What one man can do, another man can do. To a degree. Like, and hear what I'm saying with this. We all have degrees of what we're capable of, but never measure yourself against somebody else's potential, because it's unfair. You don't even know a person's full potential. My wife said something. She reminded me of something the other day. Not necessarily potential, but it's kind of along the same lines. She said, ain't it funny how we judge people prematurely? And she was telling me something that she had read or either listened to or something like that. See, it's funny. God doesn't judge us until we're finished. Like, we don't get judged by God until we die, right? Until everything is finished. That's when we get judged. But we make judgment calls on others, and for that matter, ourselves, before we die, before we're finished. And the reason why I bring that up, oftentimes we'll say stuff that we can't do, that we ain't even tried. Like, wait a minute, bro. You like the old folks said, the blood's still running warm in your veins. You are still here. You still have an opportunity to try. Like, just make sure you can't do it before you just decide, I can't do this. I can't play the bass. I always wanted to play the bass, but I ain't got no rhythm. I ain't got no time. Like, this stuff can be learned. Is it going to be hard? Yeah, it's going to be hard. Especially if you can't hold a tune in the bucket with a lid on it. Or like, if nobody in your family is musical, so you can be the first one. You can be the one who starts the musical line in your family if you want music to be in your family. Or like, man, I ain't never tried to play a bass. Neither did I before I picked it up. I didn't. Here's the thing. I told you guys, my family, my dad, my mom even, they were truck drivers. Like, that's what we did. Like, farmers and truck drivers and all this kind of stuff. And people, hard workers, work with their hands still to this day. Like, my family works with their hands. I have no professional musicians in my family that I know of, like in my immediate family. People were like hobby or part-time musicians. They didn't that ain't all they did. So me being able to say, I'm going to be a professional musician, this is what I'm going to do. Like, based on what? What you basing this on? Who you know? I'm telling you how people talk. Who you know, not who do you know, who you know around here that's a professional musician, and that's all they do. I'll wait. I didn't know anybody. But I can't make a judgment call and say it's not possible if I don't try it. And so I have to become interested enough to go after the thing to see if it's a worthwhile goal. Now, if I try it and I put everything I have into it, and in fact, I come to figure out, I can't play. But here's the thing: when I say I tried it and I put everything I got into it. Now, before you say I tried everything, did you buy lessons? Did you go on YouTube? Okay, you went on YouTube, you looked at a few lessons. I looked at Scott's bass lessons and I looked at, okay, that's great. But did you try to get a coach, a bass coach, some bass lessons for layman's terms for other people? Did you try to get some bass lessons from anybody? Did you reach out to the musician in your neighborhood, the guy at your church, somebody? I mean, at this point, there's so many resources that we have available to us. It's really no excuse. If you want to learn, a coach is going to, and I say coach versus a person that's just giving you lessons, somebody who knows, who can see where you are and tell you, okay, this is the reason why you're having that problem because you keep doing that. But if you keep doing that on your own and you don't have any direction on what you should be doing, yeah, you're going to keep making the same mistakes. You're going to keep doing the same stuff over and over again until somebody that's been there, maybe they had that problem. You can't see it now because it's smooth. You can't tell. I had this, so I wear a brace. I wear a brace on my left leg. And I bring that up for the point, I told you guys I had a lawnmower accident when I was 6 years old. So a few years ago, this new brace, apparently, this new technology came out. I didn't know anything about it. I went without a brace for like 10 years. I put the brace down. I wore a brace pretty much all my life up until about the age of 27, somewhere in there. Anyway, I said I was going to put the brace down. Years later, I started having problems again out of my foot. And I was on crutches for a little while. I talked about that here on Grooves of Motivation. But I was on crutches for a little while, so I had to get a brace again and start back wearing a brace. But anyway, I met this guy with this orthotics company, and he designed this particular brace for me. And it's cool. It's dope. I like it. And it definitely helps me. But he designed this thing, and so he had me to get up when I first was being fitted for. He had me to get up and walk around in it, and so I had to come back every week to see how I was doing. And so like that next week when I came back, I was walking around. I had got a little comfortable in it and everything, and he was looking at it. He was like, man, he said, can you walk again? And he pulled his phone out and he started filming me. And I'm tripping. I'm looking at it. He's like, dude, he said, you just so smooth with it. I started laughing. And but the point is, the reason why I seemed like I was smooth with it, from his vantage point, most of the people he know that kind of have a similar condition to mine, they walk with a very noticeable limp. Like, it's real noticeable that they walk, seem like they can't get the groove together when they're walking. One of the things I strive really, really hard in when I was in band, in marching band, is I work really, really hard on rolling my roll steps. Some of my marching band people know what I'm talking about. I work really hard trying to like roll step when I walk, to keep it smooth, because I'm like, I know I got a limp. I know it's noticeable. So I got to work really hard to make sure I don't stand out like a sore thumb on the field when I'm marching. So over the years, it helped me to smooth my walk out. So some people that will see me, they think, you got a little smooth pimp with it, don't you? Like, it just happened because I worked and worked and worked and worked on my walk, trying to smooth some things out for myself because of some things I couldn't help. But my point in all this is related. I was interested in having a better walk. So I put in the work. I put in the effort. I put in the time to try to improve it, because I heard Myron Golden said this, and I think this is so good. He said there are contributing factors and determining factors. Be sure not to confuse your contributing factors with your determining factor. So my contributing factor was the fact that I had a lawnmower accident that put me in this position that, I had a limp. But my determining factor was what I decided to do in terms of my walking. I determined that I was going to do something to improve it because I'm in marching band and I want to be able to march and I want to be able to do this and I want it to be good. I don't just want to be out holding an instrument, bobbing around with this big tuba. Like, it ain't like I got a clarinet. I got a big white sousaphone on my back. So if it's a lot of bouncing, you're going to see it. So I wanted to work on that to get to the point where it was smooth enough. So that became my determining factor. I didn't allow my contributing factor, the fact that I had over 50 reconstructive surgeries on my leg, like that had nothing to do with nothing. It's a contributing factor for me in terms of my condition, but it's not a determining factor as to who I'm going to be or what I'm going to be able to do. I decide that. When I went out to for football, the contributing factor says you might be at high risk for getting seriously injured because you shouldn't really be doing this because, you know, you got a situation with your leg. You got to take it easy. That's a contributing factor. But when the doctor says, I mean, you wearing a brace, as long as you do X, Y, Z, my determining factor, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to go out here and run. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to make sure I can, you know, do my breathing. I'm doing all of this stuff because I'm going to determine I'm going to do this. That's going to be my determining factor because I'm more interested in doing this thing than I am in failing or not doing it. So whatever it is for you, you got to be more interested in the result that you want than the outcome that you don't want. And it comes down to that. So I'm going to read a few more. Of these comments. My son is the same way, brother. This is Jonah. Michael says, I agree. I don't naturally have it, but I'll do all I can to get real close. There it is. And Michael, that's more than a lot of people will do. And you'll see that you'll reap the benefits that a lot of people won't reap because you're willing to do the necessary actions and you're getting real close. You'll pass right by the goal. And what I mean by that, I was listening to people, I'll say 12, 15 years ago, when I was on bass, there were people I was listening to and I was just, man, so blown away by their playing. And in my mind, I'm like, man, if I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind, I'm like, man, if I could just be able to do that right there. But every time I started getting close to that, I noticed the goal, the end, the finish line kept moving for me because I was never satisfied with where I got. It's like my interest level, it kept going up. The better I got as a musician, my interest level kept going higher and higher and higher. And before you know it, people I was admiring, I'm like, I done passed them. So it's like my interest level got higher and higher. So I started finding people who were I felt like they were way out of my league. And I listened to something, and sometimes you got to give yourself credit. I say this a lot. I was listening to something that I played the other day, I was like, and I was like blown away, not in an arrogant way, but it's like, dude, you remember I'm talking to myself, dude, we was trying to figure out how to do this. Like, in 2007, 2008, we were really struggling right here. We was really trying to figure this thing out, and we were working really hard, like frustrated, thinking you weren't going to ever get there. I remember putting out my first record, The Journey Continues, and I worked hard on cutting those solos. And you talking about overdub city because the fluidity was not there. I mean, the solos sound great, but them jives was overdub. So I had to work really hard to get that stuff out. And I didn't think I'd ever, like, I had the hardest time when I had to play that stuff live. I had the hardest time in my practice time working out those solos and getting everything under my hand so I could play it flawlessly when I played it out live. And I struggled a lot. And now I hear myself, you know, in some things I've recently played, and I look back at it and I'm like, Jay, bruh, dude, you used to really struggle with that. Like, that was a struggle for you. Like, you came a long way, man. And when you can look at yourself and say that, because I got more interested in what I was after than what I wasn't after. I didn't keep sitting here saying to myself, I ain't gonna ever be able to do that. I said stuff like, you know, I ain't say I'm gonna be the dopest this, and I don't even think like that. I don't know why. But I did know that I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better than I was last year. I'm gonna be better than I was last month. I'm gonna be better. And I kept telling myself that, and I kept putting in the work. And I kept taking the steps that was getting me towards the goal that I wanted. And so I noticed the more I changed what I said, the more I changed what I saw. So your interest has everything to do with what you're talking about. Your interest. It has or the people around you, everybody who's around you and the conversations that you're hearing around you, that's shaping your interest, believe it or not. So if you're around people and they're very influential to you and you really want to do something, they're like, I ain't really feeling it like that. And you're like, you know what? I guess I can wait. Because we are influenced by the people who are closest to us or the people who are around us. And so if you get people around you who ain't really pushing that hard and you're listening to them all the time. Now, we can't blame them. Like I said, don't blame me. If you're around people and they're not pushing towards the same goal that you're pushing towards, you can't sit there and blame those people. You better find a different circle, or you better find the community or the environment that's going to allow you to grow. Because if the place that your roots are put down in is not producing the fruit that you want, then you got to uproot and go somewhere else and do something else and get around the environment that's conducive for you to produce the results that you want. Let's see. Take a break. Selah. Motivation. Emmy correct. He said I was saying it right. Motivation. Let's see here. My son is the same way. He practices all the time. He's gonna get there. Steven, what's up, man? Good to be here and be the first. Trailblazers, man. There it is. Trailblazers. Steven, I've been seeing y'all. Seeing your videos. Y'all follow Steven. Know Your Sound. He's been posting videos of that new Lakeland base that he has. So y'all follow him there. Santiago Perez. Motivation is in pleasure, but it is also balanced by other parts of life. At least I see it this way. I got you. Yeah, motivation has its place, but what I'm doing on here, it's called Grooves and Motivation. You can be motivated, but like I said, if you don't put the energy and the effort behind it, it don't mean anything. You just real motivated, and that motivation can wear off if you don't do anything with it. Rather, you have to do stuff with the idea. Why the idea is hot. Why it's like when I'm talking about all this different stuff, hopefully you're writing some notes down. Or hopefully you're in a position that soon as we jump off here, you can get to work. Whatever it is you're trying to do or whatever it is you can get. If you can't do the thing, make the plan. Set a time. Set a start date. Set this evening, when I get off of work, I'm going to practice for 2 hours or whatever. Or I'm going to buy something. I'm going to buy a course. I'm going to buy a lesson. I'm going to sign up for somebody to help me on whatever it is I'm trying to do, and go do it. Don't sit here and keep making excuses for it. Go do it. Marcus says, I keep reminding myself that we all have different styles. For example, I can learn and play your song, but I cannot play like you do. Vice versa. What do you think? Man, listen, you said it, man. Ain't nothing to say. Marcus, you said what it is. That's exactly what it is. But the thing about it is, Marcus, no, I can't play like you. No, you can't play like me. We can all get similar if a person work really, really hard, because I hear it. I've heard a lot of people who work really hard to sound like Marcus, and they get close. But one thing about it, you ain't going to beat Marcus being Marcus. You'll get real close. Even people who are, what do you call it, these comedians who they try to sound like other people. I forgot the technical term for it. But anyway, they get really, really close. But you can only mimic a person so far because you don't have their thoughts. You don't have their fingerprint. So I think that's the unique thing about what we have. We all have something that's unique to us. And once you figure that out, tap into that, oh man, wow, my thing ain't like Jermaine's, but I think I like my thing a little bit better than Jermaine's thing. Like that, not to take anything away from him, but I think what I got going on, I like it. I think it's dope. And I think when we can learn how to embrace the thing that we have, even though it might not be as polished as somebody else's. Clean your car. Yeah, I'm a car dude. I like vehicles. I like what this person got going on over here, but I want to see what my car look like cleaned up. I want to see what my car look like with some wheels on it. Granted, I don't have no wheels on my car, but I have in the past. I was that dude, that's dope that they got that, but I want to see what my little car looked like. I had a little Saturn, for my Mississippi people that knew me growing up. I had a little Saturn that, we had what we had. I didn't have a Some of my friends had some more expensive cars, or they had this, they had that. Chevy S10s were big when I was in high school. Like those trucks had made a comeback. Like the old school box, the little Chevy S10s, they had made a comeback. And some of my classmates and stuff, they had the little trucks, and they was dropping the trucks, putting the wheels and all that. Well, I didn't get a truck. I got a car. I got me a little 5-speed Saturn, a little SL2. But I did my best with my car to I pimped it out to do the best that I could with what I had, because this is what I have. I don't have what they have. I like their truck, but I ain't got that. I'm not going to be cranking their truck up and driving it every day. This is what I got to work with. So what can I do with my car to make it look how I want it to look, so I feel good about driving around in my car? So that's what I did. Being a guy, I fixed my car up. So, I had my wheels, I had my music, my TVs, all that stuff in my car, because this is what I wanted. This is how I wanted my car to look. And so I put my own spin on my own thing. That's my fingerprint. When you see that car, you ain't thinking about my classmates. Oh, that's Jermaine. That ain't nobody else got no Saturn like that but him. That's Jermaine for sure. So I wish I had some pictures of it from back in the day, but unfortunately it met its untimely demise. And I got T-boned in that car many, many years later. But anyway, neither here nor there. Marcus, you're absolutely right. So Sean says good stuff. Sean also says, you must put sweat equity beyond everything you want to accomplish. Absolutely. Absolutely. What they say, at least shoot for the moon, so that way you can at least land. Well, shoot for the moon. That way, if you don't get to the moon, you at least land among the stars. I think that's like a Les Brown quote I just butchered. But yeah, aim for the moon. That way, you at least land among the stars, rather than I'm gonna just jump off the ground. Nah, go really try, go above and beyond. This book that I read, it's over there. I'm not gonna go over there and get it, but it's called the 10X Rule. But the point of one of the main points of the book is the fact that whatever you thought it was gonna take to reach a certain goal, you're gonna need 10 times the effort. That's in a nutshell the elevator pitch of what the book is about. You're going to need 10 times the effort of whatever you thought it was you were going to do, and even goals that you want. Set a goal 10 times higher than that, right? Now put out 10 times the effort that it was going to take you to get. So if you were going to take you 2 hours a day of practice, that's a bit. We're going to run out of hours there. So let's bring that down. So if you was planning on doing 20 minutes a week, bring that up 10 times that. Let's do 200 minutes a week, right? I know that's silly, but you get the point of what I'm saying. Whatever the effort that you were going to put in, that you initially thinking that it was going to take, it's going to take 10 times that effort. Because as soon as you set out to do something that that's going to move you forward, all stuff going to come out of just nowhere. Things you didn't even think about. Man, I didn't even know that my pinky was going to be hurting like this. So you're going to need more effort to get that thing. They said, I heard this thing said, it takes more effort and energy to get the plane off of the ground, or a rocket off of, the launching whole thing. It takes more energy and more effort to get it off of the ground than it does once it get in the air to sustain it. All of the energy goes into just getting it off of the ground. And so many of us haven't got enough momentum in what we're doing to get what we're trying to get off of the ground yet. We're simply not putting enough energy behind it. And so it's hard. I ain't gonna tell you no story. It's hard. It's difficult to try to get things off of the ground, your ideas, even your playing. It took me a long time to get to the point where I'm just flowing up and down the fretboard of this bass. It took a long time, and I'm still not where I want to be, but I am happy with where I am. I have reached a point in my playing that I feel good about what I have to say. When I pick up my instrument, I feel good about what I have to say. Can it be improved? Absolutely. I still got a long way to go, but I feel good about what I'm able to do. Even as a producer, as a musician, I feel good about what I'm able to get out of my head. I can get the point across that I'm trying to say, but it took a lot of momentum to get to that point where I can say, yeah, I feel good about what I'm playing. Because there was a time in my playing, I would critique everything that I did. And I still do it now, but it's not as bad. I would not give myself any credit. I would play something, oh man, that sucked. That was horrible. That was this, that. Like it would be the worst. But years and years, I'm not going to say years. I say it like this. Dedicated time, intentional time, putting that intentional, dedicated time in over and over and over and over again, putting in the reps, hating what I'm hearing, making myself do it again, making myself do these little minor adjustments, adjust here, adjust here, adjust here. Now I can play stuff that I'm like, oh, I really like how that sounds. Or now I'm able to hear something in my head, and automatically I'm doing it with my hands, or my hands and my head match for the most part, right? But it took time. It took intentional effort. So if you're not where you're supposed to be as a player, as a whatever, don't blame me. You're not really that interested. And if you are doing the best you can, and you are very interested and you're still not seeing the results that you want, keep going. Keep going. It's going to take time, but it will be worth the effort. So just keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. I'll say it again. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't quit. Just keep going, because some things take longer to cook than other things. And you just might be one of them dishes that take a little bit longer to cook. You ain't in no microwave process. So if it's something that's bigger than you, and this goal is, man, it seems unreachable, keep going. And you can't let up off of the gas, because if you let up off of the gas, you got to start all the way back over with building the momentum to get to where it is you're trying to get to. So keep going. Don't let up off of the gas. Keep going. Get you some help. Get you some coaching. I coach base coaching. If it is base lessons that you're trying to do, if it's some other areas, whatever, like get whatever you need. But whatever you do, don't quit. Don't quit. Get around some people. If you're in business outside of music, you started your own business, COVID was rough, and you had to, stop some stuff for a minute, start back, man. Keep going. Keep going. Like, even if you can do a little bit, do a little bit. If you got to crawl for a little while, crawl. One at a time. Like, do whatever you got to do. But whatever you do, don't stop. Don't stop going. So that's my encouragement to you all today. Get really interested in the goal that you're trying to accomplish. Get really interested in it. And take action. Set a goal, take action, and see what you can become. See what can happen from or as a result of what you do with this thing. But whatever you do, don't quit. Hey, I'm Jermaine Morgan, y'all. I just want to share this with you today. I hope this has been helpful. If this is your first time to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Turn on my bell notifications. That way you know every time that I'm live. That way you know every time I drop content. I've been dropping a lot of content lately. And you can check out all of this stuff if you're on my channel, or if you're keeping up, following this stuff. I know you have a life, but at least that bell notification will let you know when I posted something, so you can go back and check it out later. And do me a huge favor, leave a comment and hit that like button, because that helps other people like you find my content, find these videos. I need all the help I can get out here in these streets, out here in these YouTube streets, because that algorithm ain't playing with you, boy. So do me a favor and hit that like button. Just go do a binge on all the videos, leave a comment, and hit the like. That's all you got to do. I ain't asking for much. I ain't got but several hundred videos on YouTube. I'm being silly, y'all. But I really appreciate your support for this channel, and I hope this has been a blessing to you guys. And Leroy, it's my pleasure, man. Y'all have a great day. I'm out of here. Blessings. Peace.